This is a proposal on how to improve student course evaluations. About 86% of universities use course evaluations at the end of the course, and most of these colleges use the evaluations to determine professors' salaries, promotions, and tenure decisions. Originally, all of the evaluations were done on paper during class, but this required a large amount of time and resources because the evaluations all had to be read and the results had to be manually recorded, which in today's time it's unnecessary because we can have a computer program do the majority of the work. Most colleges switched to online evaluations because of this, but this resulted in a sharp decline in participation. The purpose of this proposal is to recommend new guidelines to follow when creating these evaluations in order to increase student participation. Okay, when these online evaluations were created, one of the potential benefits were that it was convenient for the student and for the professor, because the professor could just get all of the information handed to him instead of having to go through all of the paper evaluations and record everything. And then it is more convenient for the student because they can kind of do it on their own time and they don't have to do it in class or at a specific time. And then another potential benefit was that you could get more valuable feedback because each student could potentially spend more time on the evaluations instead of being limited to just being able to do them in class. The first benefit actually has resulted in procrastination and then the students just not even doing the evaluations because they waited too long. And then the second benefit, since there was a big decline in participation, there's a lack of responses, and that devalued the feedback that we did get because most of the feedback would just be kind of extremes. Like if you really, really, really loved the course, you may do an evaluation, or if you really, really hated the course, you may do an evaluation. So the feedback is kind of devalued, so it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to get this more valuable feedback. I've proposed a plan to get rid of this problem and to try and raise the participation rate. The first thing I think we should do is develop a smartphone app to support these student evaluations so that the students are able to do it on their own time, and they're also able to do it wherever they are. They can just pull out their phone when they're waiting on a bus or something and do their student evaluations. Another thing I think we should do is allow all the courses to be evaluated on a single screen. Instead, you have to click on each course and then do the individual evaluations for each course and then go back and click on your next course. But if we could get all of the students' courses on one screen, then it would speed up the time that he had to spend on the evaluation, and it may prevent procrastination. I think it would also be beneficial to require professors to give extra credit for doing these evaluations. It would kind of give the students a little bit of incentive to participate. And then I also think it would help if we set up some sort of feedback system. A lot of the students don't really think that these evaluations mean anything, or they don't have any sort of effect on the course. And so if we could set up a feedback system and say a professor were to get fired because of his evaluations, or say there was some sort of change that happened in the course because of the evaluations, if we could relay that to the students that had done the evaluations, then it could kind of give them a purpose in why they are doing these evaluations. Schedule and cost. I calculated up the time that it would take to do this, and I think it would probably take, to develop the app, we would have to hire a software developer, and that would take probably about 6 weeks to interview candidates and formalize the hiring. And then the software would take about 6 months to develop. So the total time is about 30 weeks to implement this. And the software as far as cost goes, the software developer would cost about $50,000. The mobile app would cost about $20,000 to create, and the feedback system would cost about $25,000. And so the total estimated cost of this project is $95,000. So in conclusion, it's obvious that student participation on these course evaluations must improve. I know that this proposal will increase participation as soon as it is implemented, and if we start now, then we could implement this as soon as 2016. I hope you will consider this proposal, and I would love the opportunity to oversee this project. Thank you for your time.